Hello gamers, welcome to Game Recaps. In this video, I will discuss the storyline of the Sifu game, which was just released on February 8th this year. Sifu is an action beat-em-up video game developed and published by French studio Sloclap for Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation 5. Okay, without further ado, I will immediately discuss the storyline of this game. Set in a city in China, appears a man named Yang, who breaks into a Kung Fu martial arts academy. Yang directly faced the disciples in the Kung Fu martial arts academy, and was able to easily defeat them all, which indicates that Yang is quite a formidable martial artist. Entering the academy deeper, Yang managed to beat the other students until he entered a room and met the Sifu of the Kung Fu martial arts school. Yang, with the help of 4 of his friends, then confronts Sifu and intends to seize the sacred box containing the high level of Kung Fu that he has been looking for. From this, we know that Yang used to be a student at the Kung Fu martial arts school. Because Sifu refuses to give the box, Yang challenges the man to a fight, and a fierce duel between the master and his former disciple is inevitable. Long story short, Yang finally succeeded in overthrowing Sifu. When he was about to take the sacred box, Yang could feel the presence of someone hiding in the room. As players, we can choose whether we, as Sifu's child, will choose a male or female figure, but here, I chose a male figure. When Yang saw Sifu's child, he then ordered one of his colleagues, a man named Fajar, to kill the child. However, the child is revived thanks to a magical talisman. Though its power is limited, as every time it is used, the user will suffer accelerated aging. Rising back and seeing his father and family and the students there have died, the child decides to avenge their death. The child then practiced diligently. 8 years had passed since that incident. The child had turned into a very great martial artist. Here, we will get information about Yang's subordinates who used to help the man massacre the students at Sifu's martial arts school. One of them is Fajar, who is nicknamed the botanist. Then there is a man dressed as a ninja named Sean, who is nicknamed the fighter. A woman named Kuroki, who is nicknamed the artist, and an old woman named Jinfeng, who is nicknamed the CEO, while Yang is nicknamed the leader. The martial artist then tracked them all down one by one, and managed to find the whereabouts of Fajar the botanist, who was in a slum area. After successfully defeating Fajar's minions and overthrowing his best fighters, the martial artist finally faced Fajar, who seemed to be taking care of his crops. Fajar, knowing the whereabouts of the martial artist, immediately attacked the man. A fierce duel was inevitable, and Fajar was not a random opponent. He could easily take down the martial artist multiple times. Not only has a high-level fighting ability, Fajar also has the power to control his inner energy so that their battle arena, which was originally an empty land, suddenly turned into a shady bamboo forest, thanks to Fajar's inner energy. This will make it easier for Fajar to hide and launch surprise attacks. However, the martial artist did not give up, and then rose to avenge the deaths of everyone in his father's Kung Fu martial arts school. With all his might, the martial artist managed to withstand the parry and reverse Fajar's attack. Until finally, the martial artist managed to snatch Fajar's machete and kill the man.
I have spent 8 long years preparing for this.
After killing Fajar, the martial artist then continued his search and finally arrived at a brothel called the Club. The martial artist immediately knocked down the guards, then went in there and defeated some of the club's customers who tried to fight him and challenged him to a fight. After eliminating them all, the martial artist then asked the person in the hallway where Sean was. That person said that in order to meet Sean, the martial artist had to defeat his men first.
2 more challenges lay ahead: dexterity and endurance.
Without thinking, the martial artist then faced Sean's men and managed to defeat them all. The martial artist finally faced Sean, who turned out to have the same dangerous power as Fajar. With his strength, Sean was able to destroy the building effortlessly, until they were among the ruins of a building that had been destroyed and burned. Before the fight, Sean inquired about the identity of the martial artist, and the reason he had come to him, and was also looking for Yang. But the martial artist only answered implicitly without telling the truth.
Who are you?
And without lingering, he charged straight at Sean. Despite having the same strength as Fajar, in the end, Sean was defeated by the martial artist. The search for Yang's subordinates continues. the martial artist has finally arrived at the museum, where an exhibition of historical objects is being held. Just like before, the martial artist had to face off against the guards and managed to take them all down. After dropping the guards, the martial artist then headed to a secret door and faced a group of formidable warriors who were armed. It didn't take long for the martial artist to incapacitate them all, and immediately rushed to another secret door that would open automatically if the martial artist managed to defeat his opponents. The martial artist was able to easily overpower other formidable fighters, and was suddenly plunged into a dimly lit room, where there were many statues. However, the martial artist did not lower his guard in the slightest, because apparently among the statues, there were hidden fighters who were ready to launch a surprise attack. The martial artist managed to defeat them all, until he reached a room that made him fall back into another nuanced room like a hologram, where he now had to face the figure of a fighter who resembled a hologram. After defeating them all, the martial artist took the elevator keys, climbed them, and finally reached their destination, where the target, Kuroki, was already waiting for him. The two of them then got into a fierce battle, where the martial artist had to be more careful because their battle arena was filled with thick snow. Just like Fajar and Sean, Kuroki also has the power to turn their battlefield that was once covered in thick snow into a vast ocean, forcing the martial artist to fight on water. However, thanks to all the training and hard work he put in to take revenge, the martial artist finally managed to surpass Kuroki's high-level fighting ability and stab the woman's heart to death. After that, the martial artist continued his search until he finally arrived at a building called the Tower. Ignoring the warnings of the guards and receptionists, the martial artist directly entered the building and rushed to the elevator. Unlike before, this time the martial artist did not encounter a group of fighters who tried to stop him. However, he was forced to finish off the elevator guards and sneak into a room, where he saw Jinfeng being escorted by two female fighters. But as the martial artist approached them, Jinfeng rang a bell and suddenly they disappeared. Not long after, the guards came who started attacking the martial artist, but he could easily defeat them all. After that, the martial artist then rushed to a door, and when entering the room to look for Jinfeng's whereabouts, the man was again confronted by her henchmen who he could easily defeat. The martial artist then engages in a fierce battle with Jinfeng's henchmen on a moving elevator. Since the elevator seemed to be falling at a high speed, the martial artist immediately jumped to the other side of the building to save himself. Sure enough, not long after, the elevator crashed down and caught fire. The martial artist then continued his search by walking down the hall and entering a door, where one of Jinfeng's female bodyguards was already waiting for him there. It didn't take long for the martial artist to overpower the woman and open a door that led to another room, where another female bodyguard of Jinfeng was waiting for him. After a fierce battle, the martial artist was finally able to defeat the woman, until he entered an empty room and opened the door that led to the dungeon where Jinfeng was waiting. The martial artist finally came face to face with Jinfeng. Even though she is an old woman, Jinfeng's fighting ability is as terrible as her peers. Moreover, the old woman also possessed a special weapon that made it difficult for the martial artist to dodge her attacks. Just like Fajar and the others, Jinfeng also had the power to change the battlefield. This time, Jinfeng used her weapon to tear down the building. After a rather fierce battle, the martial artist finally managed to overthrow Jinfeng with her own weapon. After defeating all of Yang's subordinates, the martial artist then continues his quest to find the whereabouts of Yang, who according to information, owns a kung fu martial arts school called the Sanctuary, which is located in a remote area in the mountains. Arriving there, the martial artist was immediately greeted by a guard who then attacked him. Without much effort, the martial artist could defeat him easily and met a female receptionist who told her that Yang was in the meditation room.
He's in his office, meditating.
The martial artist immediately rushed there, but one of the Yang warriors blocked him. After defeating the man, the martial artist then continued his search and again faced off against the other Yang's fighters, before finally reaching a room where Yang was. Yang seems to have been waiting for the martial artist. Yang then showed him a bird which he killed, but then, miraculously, the bird came back to life, just like what happened to the martial artist a few years ago when he was killed by Fajar. The two of them then engaged in a fierce duel. Yang seemed worthy of being nicknamed the leader because his fighting ability far exceeded his subordinates, so the martial artist was defeated several times. In the middle of the fight, Yang insulted the martial artist and thought of him as a weak child.
In the end, You're still that same child I knew.
because he had only relied on talismans to resurrect himself if he was killed. Yang's power is great and far surpasses the martial artist. It can easily be seen when the martial artist is killed several times and must continue to rise, where as a consequence, the awakening will suck the rest of his life and he will suffer accelerated aging. Well, it depends on our own abilities too, guys, because there are some of my friends who are able to play the martial artist character without having to make the character grow old because he often got killed. Okay, back to the storyline. So, in the fight, Yang took the martial artist's talisman. However, in the end, Yang was defeated by the martial artist. After successfully taking revenge, the martial artist seemed pensive for a moment, and here we learn about one thing. Yang was originally banished from the school for attempting to use the talisman to save his wife and daughter, which motivated him to kill Sifu in revenge. Because Yang tried to steal the talisman, even though it was aimed at saving his family, it was still considered an offense and a crime because Yang had broken his oath to protect the talisman. That's the whole storyline of the Sifu game, and the ending is called the standard ending. Or I call it the bad ending because revenge in the end never brings happiness to anyone. Originally, Sifu has two endings, the standard ending, also known as the bad ending, and the true ending, also known as the good ending or the alternate ending. The true ending in Sifu is actually a post-game challenge, following the standard ending of the game. Once we defeat Yang, we have the option to go through the levels again and play the game as we normally did by defeating the bosses once more and trying to finish the game in a younger age. But if we want to go for the true ending, we will have to go through our crusade of revenge by becoming a bit more merciful. On our post-game run, we will have to spare the lives of the bosses by breaking their structure twice. On the first structure break, do not go for a takedown and let them recover. On the second break, we will gain the option to spare our opponent's life, after which we will get their respective elements' talismans. We will need all 4 talismans in our possession to be able to trigger the true ending on the fight with Yang. On our first takedown attempt towards Yang, we will counter it, take our talisman, and manage to kill us. But despite that, we will manage to revive and proceed to the second phase. This time, however, both of us will lose health bars and our goal will be to break Yang's structure. On our next takedown attempt, we will manage to get the upper hand, but we stop just before landing the killing blow. The martial artist falls down unconscious, but wakes up on top of a mountain, finally achieving inner peace. This is considered as the true ending of Sifu. You will then receive Earth Talisman and the legendary Talisman of Wu Xing Trophy, and attain Wuda, martial morality in Chinese martial arts. After the credits roll following the true ending, a scene will start playing, showing someone sitting down. The face of the person is not shown, only their hand can be seen. Then, a young student shows up and calls out to this person, referring to them as Sifu. The person then stands up and approaches the student, revealing the talisman that was under their hand. The talisman only has 4 out of 5 talisman pieces glowing, suggesting that it has been used up partially. Whoever it was used on was not made clear, as the martial artist could end the fight with more than 1 piece used up, but it will still show up with 1 spent piece in the scene. This leaves the ending open for interpretations. Regardless of which interpretation we will subscribe to, Sifu still managed to do a good job at telling the story through its progression. It also managed to portray what Wuda stands for, putting human life and morality above anything else. Feel free to tell me your opinions and theories about this game, and thank you for watching.